Welcome to Sports Connection. I'm Darrin Joins, Williamson County Schools Athletic Director.
You know what this is?
What is that?
Boop, boop. That's the train that just ran through the Williamson County Ag Center this weekend called the boop, boop, Schuyler Coffee Train, baby, because that's what it was. A locomotive. Didn't even hit the brakes.
And then you saw what happened after he completely dominated the competition.
Pretty impressive. My wife, what was that? A round off
back
into
handspring.
a back handspring. Pretty strong.
So-
And landed it.
So here's my thought, now that we're talking about Mr. Schuyler Coffee, state champion wrestler for the second time in a row.
Second time. The symbolism here is that is wrestling's version of a boat race.
I was on the floor level when that happened. It almost looked like the poor young man, he was wrestling in the final, that he was just like, I'm going to, it's like the cat that, can you say kills a mouse on TV here?
I think you just did.
He kind of slaps it around and messes with it a little bit, and then all of a sudden you come in for the hammer. It was unbelievable. And here's the thing about it, and this is the truth, I think. Schuyler Coffee, like for real, could get a full Power 5 scholarship in 3 sports.
Yep.
Wrestling, track, which he's doing, and football, and now gymnastics, actually, maybe a 4th.
Without a doubt.
It was impressive. Hey, I know you talked to Coach Damon Smith. Coach, congratulations on a great season. He had another state champion at 195, Johnny McFeldhacker. You've got some stats about their individual records.
Pretty neat. Well, one, Schuyler was the state champion last year at 220, bumped up this year to 285, wrestled the whole year at about 245, giving up 40 pounds in, most matches. I don't know that there's been a heavyweight quite like him, not in recent memory. That's a lot of weight to give up, and a lot of these guys are cutting down to get to 285. Just so strong, and you saw it up close and personal. He wrestled like a 52-pounder, shooting double legs, and those guys just they couldn't move. But then he was strong enough to be able to finish them off. But Schuyler, the state champion last year at 220, state champion this year at 285, or heavyweight, 48-1. Now there's an asterisk next to that one.
He choke slammed somebody.
He rock bottomed some guy down in Alabama, and the ref DQ'd him. We're calling bogus on that. So we're not counting that. We're going 48. No. 152-15 for the year, for his career.
Wow.
152 wins. I don't know what the record is. Should I ask? I don't know what the record is at Brentwood. Will West, that name sound familiar? GP West's son. He's probably up there around it. But I don't know if they wrestled that many matches back then. So if that's not the overall win total, it's got to be top 3. And then Johnny McFeldhacker was 6th place last year at 160. That's a big jump.
35-pound increase.
Yeah. Boy, he looks good.
Looks good, yeah.
47-1 on the year, state champion, 146-23 career.
It's incredible.
Man, if there's a Hall of Fame, those two, I don't know how many, like NBA, you got to be out 7 years or something like that. I don't know how many years you got to be out before you get inducted, but those are 2 first ballot Hall of Famers.
Well, I'd say at a minimum you can go ahead and create the plaque.
For sure.
Whenever you want to present it, it's your business, but you may as well go ahead and get that thing ready. Yeah. Start the engraving process.
And Johnny Mack won in a major decision, so think about that.
Great match.
The 2 best 195-pounders in the state in AAA. And you win a major decision. I think it was 11-2. And let me tell you something, man. Johnny's dad wrestled at UTC, is a wrestling guy. I'm telling you, Johnny. Did you read where he said this is a lifelong goal of mine? It really was. Really cool, man.
Oh, it was great. It was great. And by the way, this is I've changed my gym since we started off so strong. This week's gym. The last time a WCS school has had 2 champions, 2012.
Yep. And Brentwood's first champion since Tristan Roa in 2015.
That's a tidbit, or what were we calling those?
Tidbit, yeah, I like that.
It's a tidbit. By the way, Brentwood is a team tied for 9th Centennial tied for 15th. Now, let's do this since we're on the AAA level. If you want to talk about winners or medalists in AAA, we had 6. Centennial, 3rd place, Alex Abels. Preston Dittmer finished 6th. Owen Goebel for Franklin finished 5th. Tanner Willett of Independence, 5th. And 2 girls from Independence. McKaylee Catlett finished 5th. Taylor Sullivan, 6th. Again, Brentwood finished 9th overall in the team standings. Centennial, 15th. Now, let's transition to AAA. Fairview. Now, I want you to think about this. And speaking of getting on trains, we need to make sure everybody's on the Bubba Derrick train, right? They had never finished as a runner-up in a team sport. What did they do in the duels? Runner-up to Pigeon Forge. Let's fast forward 2 weeks. What did they do?
Runner-up.
In the individual, again to Pigeon Forge. So, hadn't been done before, twice in a 2-week period. Pretty impressive what they're doing out there at Fairview.
Pretty impressive. And the most impressive thing about it was it was a total team effort. It wasn't like, you can.
One finalist, right?
Yes.
Bennett.
Yeah, well, and didn't win it.
Right.
But so, you can have 2 state champions like Brentwood did and jump back into the top 10. You know what I'm saying? They had no champions. They had 1 finalist, but they had 9 of 11 wrestlers.
Yeah, that's
in the top
impressive.
6. Now, there's 2 things about that. One, that is so impressive. That is a total team roster. And not to take anything away from Fairview, I mean this as a compliment. They had 9 of 11 wrestlers finish in the top 6, and they still got beat by Pigeon Forge. So I don't know what that Pigeon Forge team was like. They must have been loaded.
Well, and it was 224 to 143.5, so pretty big difference.
That means they had multiple states.
But they're catching up. You think about this. 3 years ago, maybe the first time we were in the duels at all, they finished 3rd.
Yep.
Fast forward, 2nd. Their time's coming. There's just no doubt about it. Malachi Bennett, by the way, a brother of Riley, finished 3rd. Riley was runner-up. This is 3 years in a row he's runner-up. So he'll be a senior next year, try to get that elusive state championship. Cody Delano and Kendrick Curtis were 4th. Other medalists, Jacob Clevenger, Luke Maxwell, Marco Pulkel. It's a new pool game. Blake Mitchell.
He's up there for Wilco Name of the Year.
No doubt, no doubt. And Zach Derrick. So great job. And I'll tell you something else that was cool. What else happened on that night?
In Fairview?
Yeah.
Boys basketball.
Had a 3-peat.
Strong. We've been talking about that, man.
It's unbelievable what they're doing.
Oh, what's going on? What's wrong with Fairview basketball? They're waiting on tournament time, baby.
I can tell you what's wrong.
They struck.
3 straight district championships.
It's pretty big.
Great job. Nolensville, pretty good showing there by them as well. Finished 6th, right? 6th. Cole Dorset, freshman, and Riley Lippincott both finished runner-up. Gavin Chanel, am I saying that right?
I think so.
And Jacob Vogelpol finished 3rd. So great job by Nolensville as well. Getting overshadowed a little bit by Fairview, but they've had a pretty nice run as well.
Oh yeah, I mean top. They're placing in the top 6.
And 2nd last year in the duels, right?
2nd last year, that's right.
So.
And that program is not going anywhere either. And again, Fairview just formed theirs late. Obviously been a school for a long time, but Nolensville, as we always talk about, 4th years of school, and here they are. They just keep having great finishes, Now, what's going to be fun is, they're going up sometime soon.
I don't see how they don't go up next time.
So, though all those teams you've been talking about all year long in 11 AAA or whatever we call it in wrestling, oh, by the way, we're going to throw Nolensville in this mix too. Jeez, it's going to be tough.
It's going to be tough. Hey, by the way, before we move on to basketball postseason, we had our spring media guide picture day this past week, and that worked out really well. We had one athlete from every sport, well, at least we requested that, from every sport, from every school to come out. We're going to put together a nice little media guide for the spring sports, make sure that they're getting promoted the way they need to. We'll send that out to the local newspapers because it's a little tougher. I know a lot of times our spring folks might complain a little bit about coverage, but there's 7 sports going on.
7 sports.
It's a little bit harder to do for the media.
Oh, it's all over the place.
So
you can't do it, really. I mean, all you can do is try to hit them when you can,
Hit them when you can. No doubt about it.
I can't imagine what it's like for administrators and athletic directors in the spring.
It's got to be tough in the spring. Got to be tough. All right, let's talk 11 AAA basketball. So what ends up happening on Thursday night last week, there's a couple of play-in games. It's the 8-9 game to get into the 8-team tournament. On the boys' side, Independence defeated Spring Hill 83-52. Girls' side, Franklin defeated Centennial 48-29. Then on Friday night, we had, again, satellite games. If you were the top 4 seed, you hosted. In some cases, boys and girls hosted. For example, Brentwood. They had their boys and girls team host. So let's talk about that girls bracket a little bit. So let's look at the 1 versus the 8 seed. Brentwood handily defeats Franklin 68-37. And then 2 teams that you have talked about all year that you thought were the surprises of the league. They go to overtime at Independence. Ravenwood comes out on top 53-50.
Huge win, and I go back to the first thing that just popped in my mind was media day. Not media day, rivalry night over at Kings Bowl. And remember, Coach Glazner was the first one there talking, and Coach James got up, and we just talked about how just devastated he was. He was still there watching it, and he obviously held that team together, man. That's pretty cool, right? That was one of those you hated to see the one of them go home because they both had, great Cinderella seasons. And it went to overtime, 3-point loss. Jalen Banks, I think she had 25. Grimes was, 19, and Erickson was 15. It was a great high school ladies basketball tournament game. And, as happy as I am for Coach James and Ravenwood, because like we talked about, he's been doing it the right way, and he's kept those young ladies together. Man, what Coach Glazner did this year, I hate for that to end a little premature.
I feel bad for him, too, because I've been there as a coach as well. You look up, you get beat 53-50, you're disappointed, you're playing at home, and then the next day, you got to buck up and host the district tournament, which is painful. Painful. I had a team one year at Beach, not that we're totally talking about me, but showing how I can relate. Lose the 4-5 game.
2?
At Wilson Central.
Ooh.
I remember the score, 68-63. I don't forget this stuff. So it was one of those games toss up, but we lose at Wilson Central. Not only did we host the district tournament, we had the region tournament the following week. Yeah, not easy.
You were really excited about that.
Really excited about it, no doubt about it.
But you did what you were supposed to do.
You got to step up.
That's right.
Help out, open those locker rooms, do what you're supposed to do. Coach Glazner and Coach Kyle on the boys' side both did a good job of that.
Yeah.
All right, let's stay on the top side of the bracket. Now we move to the semifinals. On Saturday, Brentwood defeats Ravenwood, which is probably not a surprise, but 68-58. If
Getting
you
closer.
back up to that first meeting, which was at Ravenwood, 75-28, I think, was that final score.
It was a boat race.
So, again, to Coach James' credit, and let's just face it, let's tell the truth. He took that job, had some people leaving. It was under some pretty weird circumstances, honestly. He was put in a bad position in a lot of ways.
For sure.
But he has bucked up. He's worked his tail off. Those girls have. I'm really happy for Coach James and Ravenwood. And I'll tell you this, we could sweep. Because we've done it.
Sure.
So we'll see what happens in the consolation game, but there's such a good chance they're going to be in that region semifinal.
I think you're exactly right. Yeah.
So
that would be pretty neat, wouldn't it? Now, and there's something about that Page ladies program the past few years, man.
Ravenwood.
Ravenwood, I'm sorry. They just keep winning.
They keep doing it.
It's 3 years in a row.
And he's been on the staff of those teams, too, helping out Coach Harris. All right, let's look at the bottom half of the bracket. No surprise. Page 62, Spring Hill 39. That was a 2-7 game. Summit.
The Wolfman.
The number 6 seed. And really, in fairness to those girls, and we said this earlier in the year, it's kind of like the teams that have a lot of football players and you play a bunch of district games early and they end up finishing 3rd or 4th. That really kind of messes up your opponents. There's no way Summit's a 6 seed.
No.
When they are full strength. Well, now they're full strength, probably more than they've been all year, and poor Dixon has to look up and face maybe a top 3 team.
That's right.
52-44 at Dixon County to move on to the semifinals against Page.
And the best part is they had just lost to them on Tuesday. So lost the second time, lost both games in the regular season. The last one was Tuesday, and then they turn around and beat them in the tournament. I love it. It's
you called that, right?
I believe it did.
You called it last week, I believe. I don't know if it was on air or not, but you definitely called it.
It's like Billy Mooney, former Page Lady Patriot basketball coach, said on Twitter, tournament wolf is the most dangerous wolf. Dixon County got bit.
That's hilarious. So you
didn't see that?
No.
Pretty good, huh?
It's very good. So then you fast forward to the semifinal. Now, I'll say this. I'm not rooting against Summit, but as the district athletic director, I'm happy to see Brentwood and Page play in the final because it gives us our best chance of having two teams go to the state tournament.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean that Summit or Ravenwood couldn't turn around and beat one of these teams, but it does give us the best chance as a district to get two teams in the state tournament.
I agree, and the other thing I like about it is you had two teams that literally didn't stub their toe the entire year. Page has got 2 losses, but they
To
were to
Brentwood.
So they took it from the beginning to the end. Never had an off night. Effort-wise, I'm sure there were games that Coach Brock or Coach Thrash thought they could have played better, but this is an example of where the 2 best teams, and they are clearly the 2 best teams, are in the championship game, and I think that's neat.
Now, by the time this airs, the games will be over. That's okay. We'll see how we did.
That's right.
Ravenwood Summit consolation, Brentwood Page in the championship. Now, you said last week, just making sure you're sticking with it, Brentwood's going to be the district champion. Still going with that?
I'm still going with it.
Yeah.
They're good, man. They could beat some. Hey, I'm not so sure Brentwood girls wanting to beat the Spring Hill boys in that play. You know what I'm saying? Whew. Hey, right?
Hey, you said it. So I really think, and I agree with you, I think Brentwood wins, but I think they're going to play for a 4th time too.
I do too.
In the region championship, which we'll be talking region tournament next week. And I've seen this happen before. Maybe Page gets them the 4th time.
Could.
And that would be the most important one because it would turn into who's going to host a sub-state game.
That's sub-state. But I think, and you've said it for a while, I think there's a good chance they're both going to Murfreesboro. It's just who's going to have to go on the road to get there.
What about Ravenwood Summit?
How do you bet against Ravenwood, right?
Right.
How much did they had an overtime game against Independence, played their hearts out against Brentwood and, closed that gap. So I don't know. That's a tough one. That Summit Page game was close. Oh, by the way, I meant to bring this up. Did you see this? Talking about the 2 best teams, okay? The 2 best teams, Brentwood and Page playing. Brentwood Ravenwood was closer than what it's been. Page Summit was a lot closer in 56-38. In the second half, Brentwood went 24 for 27 from the foul line. Page went 18 from 20.
Crazy.
And you wonder why they're the 2 best teams. That's tough to do, right?
That's crazy
so,
good shooting.
Point being, the Page Summit game was closer than that. So, hard to bet against Ravenwood, but I think they might be a little gassed. I'm going with Summit.
I think Summit wins, but I'm going to follow that up with I think Ravenwood wins first-round region game. And I think they would take that right now.
They'd say deal.
Yes, sign me up.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk about boys because we got to talk about double A
Did you pick
too.
Brentwood Page?
And girls?
Yeah.
Brentwood.
Gotcha, okay.
So now let's move on to the boys bracket. And here's what's interesting. I kind of thought this might happen. We talked and talked and talked about all the upsets might happen, and what happens? It goes chalk in the first round. Now, how it got to that point is another thing. So Brentwood defeats Independence 58-50 in overtime. Oh, by the way, at the end of the first quarter, Independence was up 20-1.
Brentwood, the number 1 team all year long, did not score a field goal until the second quarter. Were you there?
No, I was at Franklin Centennial.
I've never heard anything like that. Have you? Well, from a team like that.
No, and that comes back and wins. Again, you start reading these things. But Brentwood's like that. A lot of times you start reading and, they still win.
Not 20-1.
And it might have impacted them the next day. I mean, maybe not, because Franklin had an emotional game too.
Yes.
Franklin defeats Centennial. It was a great game, 71-65. Summit defeats Page, 67-49. Dixon over Ravenwood, 50-38. That one I thought Ravenwood might get. Now let's talk semifinals. Brentwood, Franklin. Franklin, and I wrote this down wrong on my sheet, by the way. You probably noticed. The score.
Inverted.
Franklin, 58, Brentwood 46. Brentwood had won twice during the year. And I went back and looked at this, and I didn't go further back than this. but Franklin has defeated Brentwood 5 straight times in the postseason.
I think, especially on the boys' side, this whole tournament 11 AAA bracket is all a matchup thing.
And what did you say last week, tournament-wise? Now, you said, on the air, right, you said Centennial defeats Franklin. Our boy Taylor Spirito came up to me and said, make sure you tell Tate it didn't work out that way. But I will also say this, Taylor. Off the air, you said if Franklin survives that, I think they win the district tournament. You did say that off the air.
Yeah.
And it turns out they've got a chance, right?
They're playing Coach Tiger. Wow, another storyline.
It is. So Dixon turns around and beats Summit 47-39. So now we've got Franklin and Dixon in the final. Brentwood Summit, the 1 and 2 seeds in the third place game. Here's what's interesting, and you can't enter the game worrying about this too much. But let's say Franklin wins, right? Which we hope happens. Then Brentwood Summit. Maybe Franklin matches up better with Brentwood, I don't know. But if Summit wins and Franklin wins, they're in the same bracket in the region.
Yeah.
So it does kind of mess some of that stuff up once you get going. But you can't worry about it.
It does, but here's what I like about it. Who's going to win that other region, do we think? Will it be Cane Ridge?
Well, you got Cane Ridge, McGavock, Hillsboro. I mean, it's kind of a toss-up, honestly.
So who knows what's going to happen with Brentwood Summit. But let's say Brentwood wins. I think Summit matches up best with that number 1 Metro team better than any of the 4.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Well, and it's about what happens in the it's definitely matchups when you move to the region.
Correct.
So we'll see. And I've said all year long, I've been consistent. Franklin and Summit match up with the Metro schools better than any teams in our league. Is it going to turn out that they finish top 2? We'll see.
Yeah, I agree with that.
But I think both teams match up best with that league.
And you were talking about the Franklin-Brentwood game. You know Reed has to play well, which he did. Big curl, which is what, you know who that is. I call him Big Perm.
5 guys in double figures against Centennial, by the way.
5 guys.
All 5
That's
starters.
exactly right. And so they've had a great tournament.
They have.
Hayden Smiley stepped up, has been big. Spirito, as you mentioned. So, but Big Curl had a big night against Brentwood, and that's what they got to have. And I was happy for him, but. You know, Brentwood's going to be back. I'm with you. I think that Indy game took a lot out of it. And, God, what a heartbreaker for Coach Kyle and his dudes. Another one, man. They never quit on him.
No, they didn't. And lost to Brentwood also last week by 2.
Yeah.
So
They
2
never
and then
quit on
overtime. No, they play hard. They always do. So we're both going Franklin over Dixon in the final, right?
Yeah, but I think Coach Merle's got them playing well, man. They're a different team.
They are different. Hard to guard. Got a lot of guards. And I will say this now. It's changed now that they have the Stacy kids not playing the rest of the year. But that's a tough matchup for Franklin. It has been.
Yeah.
Again, Stacy being out probably changes that. But I'm going Rebels.
I'm going Rebels.
And then Brentwood Summit, I think, is kind of a toss-up because probably neither one of them want to play in the consolation game. It's probably more mindset than anything. But I'm going to say Summit wins that game.
Who was one of Brentwood's only district regular season losses?
Summit at Brentwood by 2.
But I'm going with Brentwood.
Who you picked to win the tournament on air, but again, off air, you said if Franklin survived. You said if Franklin's, and I picked Summit, so whatever. What do we know? Why are we even going over this? Let's talk Double A real quick. So we want to make sure we give these guys their due as well. Fairview girls, in all fairness to them, had a tough injury there at the end of the year. They did win their quarterfinal game over Waverly 68-37. Then they lose in the semis 56-37 to Stewart County. Consolation game to Hickman 54-48. And it looks like first round of the region, they're going to get Nowensville. So that happens, it's probably over. But even if it is, 3 straight losses to me just still doesn't diminish that season.
Unbelievable, and I'm happy for them. I think they, you know, they Coach McGowan and the crew have stayed with them. They got some really good players now, and this isn't a one season.
No, definitely not.
Yeah.
They're getting ready to get it rolling.
Yep.
Fairview boys. Now, I thought this was interesting. So we mentioned this earlier, 3-peat district championship. Their previous championship was 1991. Before that, you had to go back to 1961 to get it. Fairview on the rise.
Heck yeah.
On the rise. Definitely. I mean, you look at a lot of their sports, they're definitely on the rise.
Hey.
They defeat Waverly in the quarters, 35-34, right?
Ooh. I bet that didn't go over well.
Then the semi, they beat the number 1 seed Creekwood, who was 20-6. They beat them 60-54. Then the championship, I was at that game. It was fun to watch. They defeated number 2 Hickman County, 54-45. And here's the other thing for Fairview. Last year, they were so disappointed to lose in the first round of the region. This year's a total rebuild. Bill Eads is the only guy with any significant playing time coming back. Yeah. They have an injury, a tough injury late in the year that takes a starter out. And guess who they're going to play in the first round of the region?
The Forest Rockets.
They have 4 wins. So what I'm telling you is Fairview is going to be.
What are you saying?
They're going to be in the region semis.
That's awesome.
You just never know about high school athletics.
Nope.
Athletics in general, I think high school is really crazy.
Oh, for sure.
So that's fun.
But that's the cool thing about these. That's why, you've done it. That's why when you can just keep making that postseason, these kids are used to being there. And I guarantee you they expected to win against Creekwood. That wasn't a shock. They went in there. Now, I don't think anybody else thought they did, but they knew they were going to beat them. I love it. I think it's great.
Hats
off. Bill
to
Eads, you were talking about the only one.
1,000-point score.
He has stepped up big.
He has. Congratulations to Coach McCoy, and I know it was exciting for them. Let's talk Nolensville real quick. At the airing of this show, they still have to play the championship games on the boys' side. They defeated Forest in the semis 80-50. They take on 28-1 Community. They've lost 56-44 and 60-47. This is the night they get them. I said this last week. They're going to beat Community in the championship game, in my opinion. What am I going to do, pick Community?
No.
I mean, I'm not doing that.
I ain't picking the Kings or the Vikings, whatever.
And the girls' team, you educated us. The Vi.
That's
the Vi Queen.
Of the year. Yeah. No, it's on the. We're gonna make a road trip out there.
Seeing's
Oh
believing.
man, I'm going with the Knights.
I am too. Looking forward to it. Nolensville girls, they defeated Giles County. They got them out of their misery, 60-24 in the semis. And then they take on Marshall County at Marshall County in the championship. We said last week that senior night, 1-point game, not going to look that way on this game.
This could be a smackdown.
Double-digit win.
This might be another train. The night train. Being serious.
Isn't that a song?
Yeah, I about did it, and nobody wants to hear that. Hey, let me tell you something. Talked to Coach Ladd this weekend, did a little research. He sent me some stats.
He probably hates us talking about how great they are all the time, doesn't he?
He basically said, would you two shut up? By the way, Johnny O, Hall of Famer, and he didn't try to downplay that. He is, but he was fine with that. He did say nobody knows what Johnny O is anymore, but John Overton. Johnny O over Hall of Famer. But here's the cool thing. Everybody knows about Parker Leftwich. Everybody knows about Zoe Pillar. Everybody knows about Grace Baird. Cayman Ladd, Coach Ladd's daughter, she's averaging about 7 or 8 points a game. But anyways, Baird, Leftwich, Cayman, and one other are averaging over 37% for the season from three-point land. Yeah. And then you got Pillar in the middle. I'm telling you, man, this might be a night train. It's a smackdown against Marshall County.
The three-point shot and shooting in general is the great equalizer in basketball. Great. If there's any one skill, if you want to listen to a dried-up, has-been coach,
shot a lot of threes.
All you viewers out there that have little kids, if you can shoot, you can play.
Yeah, and it helps to be able to dribble. But no, that's what he was saying was Zoe.
Unless you can dribble and get me open.
Zoe has been, she gets frustrated sometimes because they're double teaming her, triple teaming her. Well, when you got 4 out there shooting over 37%, what's it hard to do?
It's hard to guard them all.
And she comes in double-doubling. I'm telling you, Coach Ladd's got them rolling. I'm ready.
I'm ready.
And I know, hey, the athletic director, Zachy Hudson, another Johnny O Hall of Famer.
No doubt about it.
There's the history lesson.
Tate, another great week. Glad you could be here. I wish the audience could have seen the pre-game performance by you. Maybe they'll see it later at another time.
Let's just say
we'll keep it a surprise.
The American Dream and Ric Flair were giving a tribute to Johnny Mack and Skylar Coffey. The ultimate compliment.
The ultimate compliment. Thank you for joining us for Sports Connection. We'll see you next time.